morning everyone, this is P4L. In today's P4L review we'll be taking a look at the newest figure from the Mastermind Creations reformatted series, and that is their R-16 Anarchus. This is their version of Kaon, part of the Decepticon Justice Division, or DJD, made popular in the IDW More Than Meets the Eye series. Not a character that has been shown a lot, but definitely a fan favorite. Just because he's pretty cynical and kind of crazy, and because of his alt mode and everything like that. Let's go ahead and get started with packaging review as always. Very similar packaging that we got with the rest of the reformatted line. A nice use of orange here, nice renders on the front, sides, and back, where we get a lot of the extra promo images, all different angles. You can see him holding Synicus in this picture, which is I think a recreation of one part of the comic, or one issue of the comic. And you can see, in addition to the kind of torture chair that he's shown off in the comic book series, they actually included a third mode, which I have no idea if this is actually going to be part of the canon or not, or just something that Mastermind Creations kind of threw in as a design. But I really like that they were able to incorporate some third mode besides this one. So very cool. Coming back around to the front and opening up the flap, we get a nice kind of image or silhouette of Anarchus and his little kind of a spider-like buddy. It's not really an arachnid because it doesn't have 8 legs, but kind of insect-like bug kind of thing, which he uses in various different ways in his several modes. But it's not his spark eater, or kind of domesticated spark eater, or spark chewer as he sometimes calls him, but still a very cool little bonus figure. Alright, so you can also see Kaon there, or Anarchus there, and yeah, that's really it for packaging. Again, very nice. Really nice that they are consistent in their packaging. I personally like that because I'm into boxes. Alright, so let's open this guy up. Alright, so out of the box we have a number of different accessories, including his stat card or bio card, showing off his little drone spider-like buddy. Stats on the back. I think this is actually from the comic in here in the instruction manual. Speaking of which, we do have the manual, which is standard for what we get from the reformatted line. The instructions are fairly clear this time around. There are a couple steps that I know are not that clear, and they could have used a couple of more steps in between, but you can always check out the official video manual, which I actually produced for Mastermind Creations if you'd like, or just keep watching this video. Again, this transformation is pretty basic, but it would have been nice to have a few more steps in here. On the back side, you get issue 16, The Truth, from the reformatted comic book line. I'm not going to spoil that for anyone, but it's very nice that they do all that. I think MMC, more than any other company, tries to build a lot of mythos around their figures. So inside this little baggie, you get his little drone buddy, which again is kind of spider-like. If it had one more set of legs, it would be very spider-like. He does have nice red painted eyes on one side. And be careful with the plastic claws or legs. As usual, the quality of MMC's plastic is really nice and hard, but it's also very sharp here. And there's a number of different pointy things that I'm sure Anarchus can use in a number of different ways for torture, but it would not be good for your skin. So let's just put him off to the side for now. He does also come with a little blaster here, just molded in gray plastic. And it can be used a variety of different ways, one of which is using this peg here to go into that slot in the back of the drone buddy. So let's just put him off to the side for now. And Anarchus looks and feels really nice. The first thing I thought about when I got him out of packaging was just how heavy he is. And I guess I was thinking he was going to be something along the lines of Synicus in terms of weight or something like that. Even though he is much taller and has much thicker joints and everything like that. I don't know. He was unexpectedly heavy. That was the first thing I noticed. You can flip out the heels, which are not wholly necessary if you don't want them to. But I do find that this guy has some balancing problems, and the heels, these extra heels, help out a lot because he tends to lean back a bit, and so using those extra heels gets him a little bit more well balanced, in my opinion. The overall look of this guy is fantastic, though. As I've said before, Mastermind Creations does a phenomenal job working the designs of the IDW comic into their figures, and they like are spot on, very much in the same way that Planet X does a phenomenal job of recreating the Fall of Cybertron figures in their line, their models almost to a T. I feel like that's how MMC is with their reformatted line. It's just really phenomenal how they do it. Overall, let's doing a quick 360. He looks really fantastic. He does have a backpack, but it cleans up really well and is pretty compact, and I think it's pretty accurate to the show. You get some nice cool molded kind of like reactor or I guess turbine ideas. You get some like Tesla coil shoulders, which are very iconic for him, and even in the chest here, it looks almost like a flux capacitor with the Y going on in there. The legs, again, are very accurate to the way they're shown off in the comic series, with the treads kind of oriented this way, which is really unique. And then the one thing that I like the most about this character probably are his eyes. And you're probably like, why do you like his eyes? It's because I think they're like light piped or just translucent, but they're translucent like dark. And this is how Kaon's really portrayed, like really hollow eyes. And this just looks scary. Usually you're like, oh, I wish I had more light piping to be able to see his eyes. This recreates Kaon really perfectly. On a side note, am I the only one that thinks Kaon looks a lot like Rung? I mean, that might just be me just because I don't read the comics all that often, but that's just the one thing I really keep thinking in the back of my mind. They both look like Milne to a bit, I think, but yeah, it's just really kind of surprising to me how similar they look. Anyway, that was a weird aside. Let's go ahead and get into the actual articulation. So he has a ball-jointed head, and unlike most ball-jointed heads, he gets a lot of down. And the head itself is also on a panel that swivels forward and back for transformation, but he has a lot of range in his head, more so than most other characters. His shoulders are on a friction joint here. His little Tesla coils go on a separate joint. He has not a bicep swivel, but he has an elbow swivel. His arms can go all the way up like that, and are separate from the Tesla coils, so you get some posability out of those. He has double jointed elbows, one down here, which is kind of weird. It makes his forearm look really small, but then there's also one up here where the elbow joint, elbow swivel is, which is actually a little high. So, but you use those in conjunction, you can get some pretty nice poses. One other joint I'll mention is these hinge pieces. They're for transformation, and you don't want to get them open too much because they start creating gaps there. But you can spread them out just a little bit and get some really nice looking like arms crossed poses that you normally wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Making use of those double joints and the posability in the arms. I'm not going to be able to recreate it really well, but something like this, as long as you don't have the arms unpegged too much, it is an extra point of articulation that you might be able to utilize. His hands are on ball joints. The wrists are ball jointed, which is nice. His entire upper body here is on like a big ball joint from what I can tell. And I don't know why, but that makes me think of when when I do that, I keep thinking of the New Kids on the Block, that weird dance. Okay, I'm not gonna sing for you guys. I'm pretty bad at singing. And then he has these hip panels that will get out of the way of his legs, which go all the way forward about 90 degrees, all the way back 90 degrees until you run into some interference there. His legs go out more than 90 degrees. One thing I do wish they had was a hip swivel or a thigh swivel, because it actually looks kind of awkward here. His legs almost look like they're, I don't know, like angled inward, like he has to go to the bathroom all the time. I wish it was angled out just a little bit, because even just the way it's molded, the front of his legs are thicker than the back, so it just looks kind of awkward from the front. His knee bends about 90 degrees there, and then his feet are on a hinge joint there that gives you mostly inward, a tiny bit of outward maybe. There's probably a stretch calling it outward, but he does have several hinges here that you can extend if you want a longer toe to give some more posability. You can get really crazy poses out of this guy with his feet. He doesn't have any heel really on this part, but he does have that extra heel piece that kicks out if you want it to. The problem is, like I said before, he doesn't really get a lot of going forward because of where the treads are. So a lot of times he just feels like he's gonna fall backwards on you. He doesn't. He just has that feel to him. I did miss that he doesn't have a thigh swivel, but he does have a knee swivel, which is just kind of odd. And then his toe also has a swivel at the front. I think that's it in terms of posability. He does have a little bit of posability here on this piece if you want to get her out of the way. I think it looks cool with it sitting forward like that, but it's really up to you. Again, with the gun, you can flip out the handle. And I found his right hand it fits really loose in mine in his right hand, but his left hand holds it fine. This guy can kind of fold up and act as kind of a shield maybe. And what you use is these two pegs and this slot on his left or right arm, and he kind of sits there like so. Kind of a weird kind of shield, but it is there. Like I said, I don't know why the right hand, the left hand holds it like a champ, but the right hand holds it very loosely. So yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of these pieces for now and get into transformation. So we're gonna first go from robot to scorpion, and then from scorpion to the torture chair. I think that just makes the most sense to finish off in the alt mode that actually exists, as opposed to the one they created. And it's also a little bit easier to do that transformation. There's a lot less going on there. So first thing I do is get the feet out, and these end up being like the pinchers or claws for the scorpion. And again, you extend that down on the that double hinge there. The hands, they just come up like this. These kind of straighten out. This flips up, and the entire backpack starts unfolding. So you unfold this piece, unfold that piece, and and you can see this is what the chair is made out of later. But for now, let's go ahead and do that. This little piece that was tucked into his back will flip open and kind of turn into the eye. Flip the head around and tuck that in. And lastly, we're going to actually extend this one section here of the backpack, and it will look like this, very long. This is going to come up and look like the scorpion tail. At this point, you're going to want to split the legs and get him into kind of a weird position like this. And then you can collapse the back down on itself. You're going to rotate at the knee. And then bend here. So he has kind of a weird joint at the thigh that bends backwards. So it's not anatomically useful in robot mode, but it is available for this mode really. And for a shock chair or torture chair mode. You can flip the gun handle back and plug it into this little silver port there, and that kind of acts as his stinger. And even the drone guy has his place. You're going to straighten out the legs, and then you're going to actually spin them around like this. And then you're going to split them apart. And I forget which way it goes, but you're going to actually, yeah, so this way. This tab here is going to go into this front tab this way, so he's upside down. Like that. Same thing on this side. And this is his official transformation for this mode. And it looks pretty nice, pretty fearsome. His legs don't really reach the ground all that well. He's mostly supported by these arms. And to be perfectly honest, I actually have my own mode that I prefer. I actually prefer if these arms were rotated around like this at the elbow. And you can flip the hand down like that. The reason why I like that is for a couple of things. I think it fills out the body a bit more around the Scorpion. Like this whole front section should be, I think, a bit bulkier and not on the bottom. And the other benefit of that is it gives you less of the body, Scorpion body, riding on these arms, and then you can actually get the legs to touch the ground a bit more. So I think this is a better looking mode. The downside is you do clearly have hands on the front here. But I don't really mind that. I think, again, this is my personal mode for this, my personal fan mode. But I think this looks better. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get from this Scorpion alt mode to his shock chair or torture chair, whatever you want to call it, alt mode. Get rid of this. Get rid of these legs. Keep them split apart, but you're going to rotate them back around with the legs. And you can keep this split apart for now. Let's put that off to the side. Alright, let's see if I remember how to do this. So let's get the legs back around and down. And how this is going to work is untab that, well, not tab, I guess it is tabbed in, untab that and bring the eye down, and this is going to be kind of the electric chair helmet thing. Get these arm restraints up 90 degrees. And so with the chair, what you're going to do is, I forget, do you have to get it up like, oh, okay, that's right. So you have to untab these arm pieces from the chest, and this goes all the way up like this. Alright? It sits up really high like that. And get these arm pieces rotated around if you did my fan mode. If not, they'll already be rotated in the correct orientation like this. And they do a really cool job of using this gap that is formed by the elbow joint, and you tab in the gun between them. So this little peg will go into his crotch like this, and then these big tabs on either side will actually go into the slot by his elbow, which is really cool. Like I don't know if I've seen the use of gaps created by joints like that before, so it's a really clever usage of that. The legs are going to go forward and then bend at that weird thigh joint and rotate out like this so that the kneecaps are rotated outwards. These can fold in, these little heel pieces can fold in. Just kind of straighten these out for now, the feet. These treads are going to pull out from the leg, and they both rotate this way. So pull out and rotate them both this way, and then they all rotate up and over. So that this goes that way. This one again, it actually comes around on this hinge and goes up and over. And then you'll fold these two pieces together like so. Once you have that, let me show, what's the easiest way to show this? Okay, so coming here, there's a small red tab that goes into this slot there. And then this entire piece is on a rotating or hinged piece that you're going to go all the way around, and it will look like this. Once you have that, use these double hinges to come back a little bit. That will give you clearance for the thigh. And the last thing you're going to need to do to get this all secure is there's a tab here, and it's going to go right into that slot on the toe. And that, if you definitely have to extend that double hinged toe to give you that length to tab in, and that will tab in very securely. So that's one side. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing. Rotate the treads so that they're facing to the back, and then rotate upwards on these hinges. Same thing for the inner part of the tread. Have it face the same direction. Open up on this hinge, and then up and over, and then tab together. Tab in the heel. Go around on this gray piece. Get this heel back like so, so you have clearance, and then you can tab that in securely. And with that, you have the chair. You put the one thing I wish they had was something to secure the seat in a really defined position, because right now it just kind of floats, and it can go down more like this if you wanted to, but that doesn't look really natural. You kind of want to make it look like a barber chair, and this only goes so far. This hinge only goes so far, so you kind of get it looking like that, and this will be like the footrest. And with that, you have Anarchus in his other alt mode. Oh, I did forget these. I'm sorry about that. These are going to peg in like so. I like having the red eyes facing up, and you're going to use this top slot and this tab up here. And this kind of will wrap around and ensnare your victim. And I don't really have a lot of characters nearby me, so let's just use, I'm waiting for his kit to come in with rear end, but you can kind of get them, you can kind of get him seated. Have the claws grabbing him, bring down this little helmet thing, and then you'll have Cyclonus being tortured by the DJD. And it's a really cool, I always thought this alt mode was just very interesting. It's not like a tank or anything like that, or an animal or anything of that sort. It's just a torture device, which is really nice for interrogation and everything like that, but something different. So I like that. Just to give you an idea of how tall he is in this mode, here he is with Spartan, so about, I mean, depending on what you're looking at, it comes up to about mid-chest for Spartan. And really that's about it for the transformation. We can very quickly go back into the other modes. So we're going to go back into Scorpion mode, so let's just unpeg these first. Flip these around again. And this time I'll go back into the official mode. First thing we'll do is untab the feet, just pull out on those. It should come loose just fine. I'm going to do this too while I'm at it. Get rid of this gun. Be careful, since it is pegged into the crotch, you don't want to break this little tab. Fold down this piece here on both sides. I'm going to fold in the little helmet piece down there. I'm going to close up the arms or the shoulders. Down here, get the feet, flip back around and straighten. There's a little tab where this gray piece will go here to lock it in place. Keep these extended, but you can go ahead and flip the heels down. And you can flip out these heels at some point too. I'll just do that now just because I'm already down here. For the treads, you're going to untab that and bring that around. And then you're going to rotate upwards again. So up and back like that. And then flip this up like so. And there are small posts in here that sort of hold this in. Not really, they don't hold it tightly, but it just creates some alignment. Same thing with the inner treads. You're going to rotate them up and around on that hinge, and then fold it kind of upwards to get it in place. And there's also posts in there which are very hard to see that kind of hold it, again, to keep it more aligned than anything else. And you can have the scorpion arms or legs like that. We're going to repeat that on the other side. And let's just get the legs rotated around that way. Oh, actually it should be the other way, like this. Same thing over here. Get those untabbed, rotate them upwards. Like that. Same thing over here. And there's like a little tabby piece down here that fits into this little slot. I don't know if that's wholly necessary, but it is there. With all that done, you can collapse the backpack. Get this flipped up. Now we're back into like the official Scorpion mode. For the most part, I do find that you run into a lot of interference with these elbow pieces. Again, this is the official mode. See what I was saying before? I think it looks a bit better having those rotated up because this seems really thin up here. But again, personal preference, whatever you want to do. Get these tabbed in to the sides. Get the gun up here. Scorpion mode once again. From Scorpion mode, get these off. And while we're dealing with them, just put them back together and get the legs back around to create the drone. And we'll go ahead and tab this in just so he's weaponed up. You just sit right there, buddy. Straighten out the legs. And get the arms kind of straightened out as well. Get the legs down. The knees are backwards, or lower legs are backwards. So flip those around. The heel, just straighten that out, and then collapse this on the double hinge, the front part of the foot. And now you're basically there. The last thing you're going to need to do is deal with the backpack and the head. So let's go ahead and fold this up. And you'll see once you collapse this, there's these rounded pieces will go in here. It's kind of hard to see, you just kind of have to feel for it. But it will collapse flat if you're doing it correctly. Pull the head out, get it facing forward, tuck this in to go right into the back cavity, and then that piece will form the collar. And here we have Anarchus back in robot mode. So this newly determined triple changer is back in robot mode, and I think again they've done a really good job with the various modes that he has, given the accessories that they added. So final thoughts for Anarchus. This is a really fun mold. I think aside from the lack of hips and a couple of areas where there's some interference with the arms and like Scorpion mode, and the somewhat challenging transformation, as long as you know what you're doing, it gets pretty easy to go back and forth. But the first time around, especially trying to use just the instructions in the booklet, make it pretty hard the first time around. You might miss one or two things. But again, go ahead, check out the official video manual, or obviously you've looked at this one, so hopefully that will get you through without much issue. I do wish he kind of had the spark eater, but this little drone guy serves multiple functions, so they did a really good job with that. What else could I say? Yeah, really nothing else. I think it's a really fun figure. I probably wouldn't have collected him because I'm not huge into IDW, but since I'm doing these manuals for them, I've been really getting into More Than Meets the Eye after the fact, and I was really brought into it from after collecting the MMC stuff. So very happy that they've dragged me into that whole universe of great comics. And I think those of you who are readers of the comics are really going to enjoy the figures, and vice versa. So hopefully that was a good overview of the Anarchus figure. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them as always in the comment section below. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on social media, wherever you do. If you want to add this guy to your collection, you can go ahead and order him from Toy Dojo. I'll provide a link in the description. And this guy is already readily available, so you guys can get him very quickly. And with that, I think that's all for today. If you want to follow me on Facebook, go ahead and check out P4L Reviews on Facebook. Alright, thanks a lot everyone, and have a good one.